Welcome back, racing enthusiasts, to another thrilling episode of You Don't Know Jack podcast, your ultimate pit stop for all things speed and adrenaline. Today, we're revving up our engines for an electrifying ride into the world of simulator racing. Strap in as we take a deep dive into the high-octane realm, exploring how championship sim drivers and real-life professional drivers harness the power of virtual tracks to sharpen their skills. Join us as we sit down with these iRacing icons. We're going to unlock the secrets behind success on both on-screen and asphalt. We're sitting down with Jordan Johnson, Max Muir, Blake Reynolds, and Joey Atterbury, and of course your hosts Jack Roush Jr. and Josh Massib. Well, guys, the episode of Inside iRacing. iRacing is it's a blast. If you haven't done it, you're completely missing out. If you want a good adrenaline spike at about after you put the kids to bed or late night, you just want to settle down, get adrenaline. Well, not settle down, gets your adrenaline going. So complete opposite. It's very exciting. But, Joey, Jack, I know that you guys frequently iRace. Josh, heck, we've talked about it on several fronts, team outings and all this fun stuff. But iRacing's pretty exciting. Jack, Joey, tell us a little bit about what is iRacing, and let's let these guys know a little bit.
Well, I'll jump in here, Jack, and just kind of what is iRacing. And the best way to describe it, it's a motorsport simulator. A lot of people call it a quote-unquote video game, but it is definitely a simulator out there. Everything is laser scanned from the tracks to the cars, all of the calibration. It's all based off of engineering docs that they get from the manufacturer. So it really is not a video game. It truly is a simulator. It provides a great training opportunity for those that are actually participating in real-world motorsports, but it also provides the esports opportunity for those that don't have that real-life race car. And the esports is really kind of the foundation of what iRacing is. That's really the main bread and butter of everybody that gets on. And then in just terms of the content, they've got oval, road, dirt, formula. I think the newest big talking point is definitely rain. They've got teams events, solo stuff, hill climbs, special events. It really encompasses all of motorsports. So as long as it's got four wheels and it goes on a racetrack, a real-world racetrack, you can usually find it in iRacing, Trevor.
So can you turn on the realistic moment where it like spits water or mud at you while you're ripping around the track? Have we got to that point yet?
No, but I got a couple dogs over here that they'll shake and slobber on you. That's pretty much the same thing.
That's awesome. And Joey, you talked about how you potentially use it as a tool. Jack, you know about this coming from the professional racing world. How did you use iRacing as a tool?
Actually, so I grew up go-karting, but in 2005, I decided to start my professional sports car racing career really directly from go-karts, which is kind of crazy, up against, some of the best road racers in the world. So I had a really tough job to adapt quickly, and I used iRacing to help me with that, to learn the tracks, to learn the techniques of driving that's different than karting. And I can't really say enough about iRacing for my own development. And I want to say thank you to Jordan and Blake for being here. There's a big story for our audience. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of you guys don't know what iRacing is or sim racing. We're going to try to quickly explain what that is. But we also have a really cool event that we've just finished up, which we're going to dive into as well. And with us are some of the best iRacing racers out there. With us here today, and we'll talk more about that. Pretty exciting stuff. But looking at iRacing, so back to your question, I've used it personally for many years in terms of racing. I still do. Every time before I go to a racetrack, I'll review it, even if I know the track very well. But as you guys remember, in the pandemic, in the really the darkest days of the pandemic when everything was locked down, we were trying to entertain people and, kind of put smiles on our fans' faces. So we started our iRacing events. Instantly I went from just doing it casually, just not any great equipment, just more focused on the tracks, testing alone to being captured, live video, racing against other people. So that was a whole other learning curve for me. I wouldn't say that I'm a real sim racer. I just do it a little bit, but it's super useful. So anyway, I can go on, but I think that pretty much covered your question and a little bit more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I feel like we've all kind of hit iRacing at different moments of our lives. Like, so quick question to you, Jordan. When did iRacing, how did iRacing come about? Did it start in like video games? Did it start in passion for racing? How did you get here? How did you get to where you are today? Obviously being a champion off the latest Roush Performance esports series. Tell us a little bit about that, what that sounds like, or what that story's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long road. I think much as anyone that is successful in racing, I started out having a vested interest in racing at a young age. I never was really in a position to take advantage of it until I was kind of after my teens. I started being able to develop into Sims and so on a little bit more on my own once it was under my own dollar. So I picked up iRacing right before the pandemic really started picking up. Late 2019, and then started really getting into it more during the pandemic. And that's where I started kind of really understanding the intricacies of racing. I think I'd done racing games before on some more arcadey games, so I understood basics, but never really prepares you for how much there really is. And I think the level of detail that iRacing had really kind of gave me a culture shock, but at the same time, that kind of gave me the nip in the rear to really start developing my skills as a racing driver. And I think without iRacing, I wouldn't have even put myself close to a racetrack, let alone be able to have some of the opportunities I have so far.
Well, you have, if you just started at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm afraid of what you're going to do in another 3-4 years because you are extremely fast and talented. Watching you, it's like, oh man, this guy definitely came from the real world of racing, just how you understand it, how you place your car. I've heard comments from Jack and Joey being in the professional world, how you drive. It's very, it's held at another level. And so it's extremely impressive watching you, which explains completely why you're the championship of our series. But Blake, you were not far behind, and you made for a heck of a show. I super enjoyed watching you. I was secretly really pushing for you and rooting for you. But how did you get into iRacing? Is it similar thing to what Jordan's doing?
Yeah, I started on my PlayStation when I was like 10 years old. I got a PS3 one Christmas and NASCAR 09. That's kind of where I started. And I've always been a NASCAR fan. So, for years, you play the NASCAR console games, and some of them better than others. I think a lot of us know in that area in the early 2010s was a little sketchy there. So I was looking for more. iRacing, especially in that time, you kept seeing more and more videos on YouTube. And I was like, man, I got to join. So I think I was 15 years old or something, and I joined in 2013. And I only did NASCAR. And obviously I went on, and I ended up being a professional. I was in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series from 2017 to 2022. And, through playing iRacing, I found a love of other disciplines, off-road, formula, prototypes like we did in the Roush Pro Series Championship just here recently. And it's really been a recent obsession, I guess, is the GTP cars. It's so much fun. It's a fresh take on prototypes, and I'm glad I was able to be a part of this championship and express and entertain you, I guess, Trevor.
You absolutely did. No, it's super exciting to see. I think what's cool is driving profiles, and I thought about this the other day. So I think and Jack, Joey, you can correct me on this, but I feel like in real life, there's a couple different driver profiles as far as what type of driver you are, right? You're smart driver, you're not rough. Then you got a driver that likes to drive it a little harder, willing to put his nose in there and stuff. I feel like iRacing's kind of expanded that because there's so many different type of people that all of a sudden can get their hands behind a wheel, right? And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll be leading on the last lap, and homeboy that's 26 laps behind just decides to come up the track and take you out. But with that being said, Jordan, Blake, what type of driver profile have you developed? What would you say that you are? Jordan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think one of the unique things with sim racing, just to open up with, is that it really expands on your kind of exposure to different things. I think you'll notice, especially with sim racers, a lot more of us tend to adapt multiple styles. You don't get these drivers that just kind of throw it in. There's some names that you could throw in there that maybe kind of they embrace some more aggressive styles or some more smooth styles. But I think what's really important for a lot of people that especially drive multiple styles, Blake probably has a lot of familiarity with it, that you're able to adapt, because so many of the cars are so different. In GTPs and especially Formula cars, I'd say I probably sit on more of that smooth style. If I really had to put something on, and I like to carry that mid corner speed and maybe put the car a little bit more on edge throughout the corner rather than initially and then abusing it throughout the exit phase. But I do think that is something important to touch on, that the sim drivers do have a big strength in our adaptability, because we have so much time and so many different styles of cars that we have exposure that it would be impossible to have in real life, at least without a blank check, of course.
We'd hope so. Yeah, no, exactly. All right, Blake, jump into you on this one. Driver profile. What kind of driver are you?
Am I? Well,
little Earnhardt in there?
I mean, I carry a lot of my oval techniques over to road, and it's kind of interesting. I've always liked a tight race car. Most people don't. Most people like to drive off the rear of the car. I like to drive off the front of my car. But also, I don't really tend to wear my front tires. I've always, especially GTP racing, I've been in leagues where we're limited on tires for a 6-hour race. And because of my oval nature, and especially being a pro for so many years in it, you have to learn how to save tires, especially in those Goodyear tires. They only last the one fuel stint. I mean, in endurance races, I can recall, 5 years ago in a iRacing Daytona 24, I quad stinted tires, and some of my teammates couldn't double, just because I knew how to save the tires, and I kind of drove off the front end. I didn't really destroy my rears. I had good drive off the corners. I knew how to get in the corners very lightly and get to the apex speed perfectly. So I'd like to say I'm calculated and smooth, but there's clips of me where I tend to get bored, and I like to, I guess, be an Earnhardt or a Kyle Busch or more recently Ross Chastain, something like that. So
take the outside wall. No, that's awesome. Well, that maybe explains my driving style, because my tires only last about 3 laps. But let me just tell you, they're the fastest 3 laps that you've ever seen. I get ahead of the pack. It's crazy. And then all of a sudden they just start catching me. But Max, Max Muir just jumped on. He finished second in our latest Roush Performance Esports series. Max, want to introduce you as a heck of a driver as well. We're talking through driver profile and trying to figure out everyone. We're going to jump to Josh, we're going to jump to Joey, and we're going to get Jack's point of view on this, because I'm curious to see kind of how this levels out here. So Max, what would you say your driver profile is?
I'd say it's pretty smooth, but I'm sort of the opposite of Blake in terms of like what I like in setup. Yeah. So I like the rear end to be sliding around a bit more, but I'd say like smooth is fast in iRacing pretty much always, because it's so easy to overheat the tires in pretty much every car. So
all right. Joey, what kind of driver are you besides that awesome mustache you're rocking? That just gives you actually just points right off the bat, actually. The
iRacing guys were saying that I looked a little Ned Flanders like with this mustache.
Well, let's not go that route. That's going to deduct some points here.
I would say in the real world, much more calm and methodical. I love car setup. That's really what makes my brain tick. Vehicle dynamics and being able to kind of shape your clay model into what you need for every single racetrack, because you unload and the car is not perfect every single weekend. So I'm much more of a methodical driver in getting the car set up right. Now in iRacing, I'm a little bit more like Josh. I think where I struggle in the simulator is I blow through the limit of grip. I can never kind of like creep up to that limit where you need to ride it on the edge in order to go fast. I usually just kind of blow straight through it, and then I end up overheating the tires. And so in iRacing, I think I'm good, but I'm actually more kind of middle of the pack. You better watch out for me too.
Like, you're strong enough to get to the front and be dangerous.
I mean, I rely on racecraft, right? I feel like a lot of people in iRacing in the simulator aren't necessarily well-versed in racecraft, and that's where I find kind of like that's my strong suit, is being able to go out there and race a car. But yeah, in iRacing, I have a tough time finding that limit of grip. I often kind of just times blow straight through it.
All right. Jack, I think I know how you're going to answer this, but I'm going to let you answer it. So from asphalt to screen, does your profile move over? Are you the same driver as asphalt as screen? Or is there a little bit more confidence in there?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I haven't really thought of myself as having a single profile. Like, I try to raise people with respect, and, raise people hard in the real world and in the sim. In general, I try really hard to race clean with people. However, if they're dirty, then, that can raise a whole lot of, kind of open the door to retaliation. You can't just let people run over you. It's funny too, like right now, I've had my son go-kart racing, and I race, go-karts again, which I grew up doing. And I'm racing against a lot of people that are younger than me. So now not only do I try to race clean, but I also try to forgive them more than I would, someone who's a peer, because, I don't want to mess with these, kids that are just starting racing and all that. I'll let them bump me a little bit.
Jack Roush Jr. is out there punting kids off the karting track.
And Trevor, I want to jump in
the latest racing
here.
News.
Like, I was gonna say, to Jack's point, like you can't get pushed around. Like, if you go out there on the racetrack and you're known as that guy on the playground that you can just kind of push him off the slide and take your spot, everybody's gonna realize it. So it was a really good point what Jack brought up. You have to put your foot down, and if other people are gonna kind of rub elbows with you, you have to be able to rub them back too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, I am not going to talk about my driver profile. I think you guys can already figure it out, because I do like rubbing elbows. And if you see my name on iRacing and I'm behind you, it's not good. Just not good. I don't use brakes. I'm late breaker. I'm going to run you up the track, and I'm going to get those couple runs in at first place for a couple laps until y'all catch me off my worn tires. But let's talk a little bit about how Roush Performance, obviously we're automotive racing industry heavy heritage and tons of history, but how did we make the transition to iRacing? I think I almost remember it exactly to a T. Jack, I believe it was maybe a group text that was sent out amongst the marketing team, and it was more or less about, hey, like, we were talking about really not so much, I don't want to say staying relevant during that dark time that we always talk about, but it was more or less, how do we stay engaged with our fans over a time where we're not going to be able to see them at events? We're not going to be able to see them at racetracks. We have to connect with them on a different level. And you threw out iRacing. And I remember, I think we all lit up about it.
Oh, yeah.
We kicked it off.
I don't know how you guys felt. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was just the three of us at that point. And then Joey, you quickly came in to be part of it too. But, it really wasn't a business decision. It was, to do the right thing with our fans, because it just felt awful to, not be out at shows, not be out at races. It was a rough time, and it was for everyone, and it was a very cool way, I think, to entertain people. It was pretty cool. We didn't have, like the dedicated iRacing, really high level sim racers like Jordan, Blake, and Max here. These were more people that we knew in racing from the real world who may have had some sim experience. Like, I'm trying to remember some of the names, but Greg Biffle was in one of the races. Chris Buescher.
Yeah, Chris.
I think Billy Johnson was in one. Andy Lally. Yeah.
Matt Plum. Owen Trinkler. I mean, we had
Owen,
an
I remember,
impressive
the
list.
Owen days.
Yeah.
We did.
Joao
did.
Barbosa was showing up to our stuff.
Absolutely.
It was pretty cool.
I think it was exciting seeing those guys, because I feel like you guys obviously all had a connection at the track, right? And then you guys came to iRacing, and it brought a lot of excitement. It was everyone was trying to pull rank and really show off of what type of driver they were, at least to the best of their ability, of the learning curve of iRacing as well. But yeah, no, it was pretty neat. I mean, Jordan, you had mentioned you started iRacing just before pandemic. How often do you think that you were iRacing? Not to get into a personal question of 12 hours a day, but obviously now you're at home, you have the ability to do that. Do you think that's where your growth was during that time?
Given there's a little bit of push and pull, because at the time I was also competing professionally in FPS esports with some smaller name titles, and you could say that probably killed the career I had going there. But so I wasn't able to dedicate maybe the 8 to 12 hour days that some of these drivers would have been able to dedicate. Early on, it really was just a hobby. It was a hobby that I very quickly got into me, neck deep, I guess you could say. I was kind of very, very overwhelmed by all the things coming in, but I also took them all on the chin and really wanted to tackle all of them at once. And then I started kind of progressively getting more and more, coming into probably like 21, and then 22 is kind of where it really took off. I joined a couple groups just to kind of jump around iRacing a little bit more, a couple of leagues as well. I got picked up with a team, and then from there it was pretty much, that's where those 4-6 hour days were coming in almost every day. It was at least getting to the point where we were putting in minimum 10-12 hours a week, even on the worst end, and all of that's well combined with being a full-time student, so having to start to juggle a lot of responsibilities very quickly. But I'd say nowadays it's probably even upgraded about 20 hours a week minimum, and we're entering our final year of university, so a lot of stuff stacks on quick, that's for certain.
That is awesome. That is pretty impressive. Max, what would you say that your go-to practice, like you want to get better, is it running on a track by yourself? Is it jumping into these open sessions? Is it working with guys that you already have relationships with, as far as like, hey, let's go race this track, I need to get better at cornering? What I guess is your go-to practice to better yourself on iRacing?
I guess it depends on what you're trying to work on. In terms of like pace and stuff, yeah, you can go into a static weather session and hot lap and stuff. That's normally what I do to get up to pace at a track. Just load the VRS conditions and try and match it if I can. Racecraft, if you have people you know, I feel like that's always better than hopping in a practice session and racing random people that may or may not kill you. And yeah, I don't really have a set routine that I follow every week. And some weeks I don't practice at all. Some weeks I'm all on it, like at Road Atlanta. I really love that track, so I was on it like every day, but it just depends.
All right. And Blake, what would you say, I think in iRacing, there's a lot of factors around equipment, right? I feel like everyone's like, you have to have this, you have to have that. But you've also seen the other side of it, where I wish I remembered, you guys probably remember his name, who was awesome. I think he was championship on the Coca-Cola side, esports side. And he just had like the wheel mounted to his desk and a single little monitor. Who was that?
I mean, that was a lot of people early in the days before direct drives came out. Nowadays, pretty much everyone has a direct drive.
Right. Okay.
So the top level of sim racing, pretty much everyone, or has like some higher level belt driven wheel. You're not going to be seeing guys do really well without any sort of high detail force feedback.
Okay. So let's
they're not supposed
first
to
go
that?
to, you want to be a better iRacer. What equipment do you buy besides computer?
When we started our esports stuff, what I had was Logitech with just a mount that I held between my legs. So I was not ready for this.
That is awesome.
But it was great for learning.
No.
If it makes you feel better, I started on a 15-inch laptop 3 years. I got a 5,500 oval iRating on a 15-inch laptop on top of 3 textbooks in front of my
Nice.
Logitech G27 on a desk.
See, that is super cool. That is awesome, though.
You know, and I'll pitch in here. I started in 2008, 2009 to get ready for the Volkswagen TDI Cup that I was racing in at the time. And I had 2 bar stools with a 2x4 with the Logitech G25 bolted to it with the HDMI running up to my TV on the wall. So that's how I was training for a Volkswagen TDI Cup back in the day.
Look
Okay,
at you
nice.
I
guys.
feel proud of my old setup. Oh boy.
Let's hear about it.
I started when I first drove in 2016 on PC games. I bought a $50 wheel off Craigslist, no force feedback, bungee cord wheel, and I had it mounted to a desk that wasn't even screwed into the frame. So if I turned too hard, I could jerk the entire desktop off, and I'd sometimes actually had my monitor
man.
fall off the back of my desk because of it. I don't think it was anything as bad as what you
Jeez.
guys had though.
You guys were roughing it. I think the good thing is I had you guys around me. I went straight into, no, I guess I had the monitor for a little bit with the little stand that I got on Amazon. But my biggest thing that I love that I think took it to a whole new level was VR. And I know on the iRacing side, like some guys absolutely hate it, some like it. I'm more for the experience side. I want to be able to look back at the person I wrecked, so I choose VR and have an awesome time with that.
Yeah, I'm in VR as well. I don't know
that's
too
right.
many people that are in VR, but the ones I do really like it. I personally love it. But there have been some times where it's crashed mid-race in very, very important scenarios. That was not fun.
No. Did that happen during our race?
It
Our
happened
series?
during IVRA this year.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
which was not fun. But other than that, it's actually been pretty good, and the rain update didn't seem to mess it up too much like I expected.
That is awesome. Yeah, the rain update would be realistic on VR because you just sweat, just burning
Yeah,
into your
pretty
eyes.
much.
That adds
Yeah.
another factor. See, that's what I'm talking about. The
You
real
just need
factor
that
there.
theme
No
park
fan.
mister, the theme park mister add-on.
I'm about
Yeah,
to buy an
exactly.
AC unit for like right in front of my face just for this room because it gets really
Yeah.
hot after like
Especially
30
with
minutes.
the VR,
Yeah,
right?
it's bad.
You're not dealing with just a computer anymore, but you're dealing with a heater on your face now as well.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, right. All right. Well, Max, so staying on that side of things, so talking about the future of iRacing. So we've talked about the development, right, of starting of us 2x4 and 2 bar stools sitting in front of your screen on the wall to VR and these belt driven equipment. Where do you think we're going? Like, how far is this going to go? Yes, I know there's moving simulators and stuff, but actually, what do we see happening to iRacing? What's going to be the big growth factor there?
I honestly don't know. Every time I see something new, it impresses me. Like the semi-cube pedals recently are extremely impressive. I can't afford them by any means, but I eventually intend on getting those one day. I mean, who knows?
You hear
Maybe
that, guys?
VR will
Sponsorship
evolve.
opportunity with Max.
What'd you say?
Sponsorship opportunity with Max. Go ahead and just send out your resume.
Yeah, there we go.
We got you.
That'd be nice. SimiQ sponsorship.
Yeah.
There you go. Blake and Jordan.
I
Make it
think
happen.
we would all take
everybody in this room wants that for sure.
If
Yeah,
you
that
don't
would
know
be
what that
nice.
is, it's pretty much a force feedback pedal. It's very adaptive. Max might know more, but
Let's
it's
mention their name
incredible.
one more time. What is their name? And what is the product? Where can you find it?
It's the SimiCube Active Pedal. I've had the opportunity and the luxury to actually test it a few times, and there's nothing like it. But
Wow.
people put little like controller rumblers on their pedals to kind of modulate or fake ABS. But the active pedal is the best thing that I've felt, especially driving in winter. I hit ABS all the time, so I know what it feels like
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that you actually get proper force feedback through your pedal, you actually know what the brake's doing. I think that's super, super important. You can feel the tire's grip fluctuate a little bit as maybe the pedal goes a little long or a little hard as
Wow.
you're starting to really feel the performance. There's nothing even close to it right now.
That is pretty impressive. I mean, with all those factors of all the feelings that you typically don't get in iRacing, right? Like the grip and the force feedback and everything. When you start to apply these and then you put yourself into VR, someone's going to scream out as they about hit a wall because they're going to think it's really happening because of all your sensations are hitting. You're feeling it in the pedals, you're feeling it in the wheel. See, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. Like the future iRacing, I think that's the direction we're going. I mean, in gaming, you see the vest that they wear, and if they get shot, you can feel it on a vest, and they're running around the map. That's like wild. But where do we stop? Because like we would think that, I don't know if we ever thought we'd get to the point that we are now with simulator racing and iRacing, but it's pretty exciting to see what the future holds there. One quick thing, Jordan, I want to ask you this. Blake, Max, be thinking of this. Memorable racing experiences on iRacing. You know, there's tons. We see iRacing post all these crazy saves or the nasty crashes where the guys are whipping through the traffic and they get the clear and take the checkered flag. But we want to hear what your guys' memorable experiences are. Jordan?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of things. Of course, winning the Roush Pro Series, I would immediately come to mind.
Heck yeah.
Anything similar to that. I mean, of course, one of the big things with sim racing is that you can end up on a track with some of your idols. I've had the luxury of running against the likes of Fernando Alonso and similar drivers from the F1 circuit. Or even one of kind of the biggest memories for me is Jarno Opmeer, one of the F1 esports world champions. Shortly after his second world championship, I had the luxury of competing against him several times and going toe-to-toe with him. And I think that's probably the things that stick with me, because for a long time, you probably idolize these people. You're on the other side of a screen. And then when you're all of a sudden able to get into a race with them, and then, of course, even match them, it becomes a completely different game, because it goes from this person's disconnected, they're held as this kind of hero, and then all of a sudden, when you're level with them, you're able to compete with them. It does feed the ego a little bit, but it also gives you kind of another perspective on where those drivers are, or if you just get completely gapped by them, it gives you a completely different appreciation for what's going on. And I think that's something that sticks with me the most. There's plenty of different things I could mention, winning real life opportunities through various different competitions, but I think what sticks out is really just being able to go toe to toe with some of those idols.
That's pretty cool. That's a cool story there. Blake, what you got?
Well, personal racing in iRacing, I was a part of the Championship 4 in the eNASCAR series in 2019. It was the first ever nationally broadcast sim racing race. It was on NBC Sports, and I was in the Final Four at camera right here. Same spot in my room, actually, was on NBC Sports. And that was just a really cool thing to be a part of. Unfortunately, finished fourth of the points. Racing things, you know how it goes. But through that, I was crew chief for Austin Dillon during the COVID series. That was on Fox. Let's see, I got to be a part of McLaren's Shadow. The next year, they offered me a spot. They joined NASCAR. I know, it's strange.
Super cool.
Yeah, cool but strange. I raced a Chevy Camaro
Beep.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I raced a redacted for McLaren Shadow.
There you go. Solid.
And then, being in the Roush Pro Series, racing GTP cars against, I don't think I'd ever, my iRating's nowhere near Jordan's, so I don't think I would ever be in a split with him. Same with Max. I raced Max in a couple other leagues, but I didn't think I'd be good enough to race Jordan, and this Roush Pro Series enabled me to do that. And even now, I'm representing Nitro Circus Sim Racing in their first endeavor into sim racing. So it's pretty cool to represent them and their sponsors at this current time.
Heck yeah. All right, Max, what you got?
Yeah, Jordan mentioned racing people that you've seen streaming and whatnot on YouTube. And honestly, when I came in here, racing Jordan was the goal. And, I looked up to him and watched his ARA streams a lot. So being able to be close to him was great. I had an experience where I beat Jarno as well, since you mentioned that. But I'd say one of the best moments was the Sebring finish against Blake, the last corner battle. That was good stuff.
That was a battle. That was wild. What was the do we remember what the time difference was there?
It
was close.
2/10?
Yeah.
Oh, something small.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. No, who had to throw it in reverse?
Oh,
don't reverse, Terry.
That was Trent McMillian finishing mid-pack there. Yeah, he spun out at turn 17 and put it in reverse to finish the race. Ricky Bobby.
That's gonna be my highlight. That or I wrecked Chad Knaus at MIS on oval. We both qualified really well. I was behind him second row. We took off. A little too hot, like I said. I'm hot right off the bat. I'm going and just ran him right out of the corner. He said, "Hey man, all good." And he signed off. But so sorry, Chad, if you ever happen to get across this podcast.
You ruined his online experience that night, Trevor. You made him leave.
He probably never came back. Poor guy. Sorry. Well, guys, the iRacing is it's pretty wild. And it's super neat. How the Roush Performance team got involved with iRacing and where we continue to go to have people like you, Jordan, Blake, Max. It's extremely impressive. It really is. It's something that we talk about quite often and are always excited to get in the broadcast booth and watch you guys go at it and be able to talk to you guys and call you guys friends. So we appreciate you guys for taking the time to jump on the official
Trevor,
podcast.
I'd like to add one thing as we are wrapping this up. But,
yeah, go ahead, Jack.
When we spun this series up, we had tried many different things over the years with iRacing. We, our off-road series, which is wild, all kinds of road racing, oval, rally. And this one, I think, was really special. We wanted to really take it to the next level and attract some of the best drivers in iRacing. That's why we called it our Pro Series. We wanted there to be, cash prizes to incentivize people to come. And I got to say, I'm super happy with how this turned out, how you guys raced. It's not just about being fast. It's about, having respect, going side by side and not needing to be dirty to be, to come out on top. But, I'd like to say thank you guys and great job. That was awesome to see.
Heck yeah.
Thank you.
Any shout outs there, guys? Blake?
Shout out to you guys for inviting me here, putting on this cool series. I don't know if people know it, but there was money. So I have money now. That's awesome. It's always good to make money doing what you love, doing your hobby. So shout out to them. Shout out to Nitro Circus, who I represented in the series, and Racecraft Academy. It's our driver development, driver coaching. That's kind of what we do right now. So shout out to them.
Heck yeah. Max?
Yeah, shout out to you guys, of course, for the cash prizes that are now in my wallet. Excellent. And Satellite Racing and all of our many sponsors. Yeah, thank you guys.
Heck yeah. Jordan?
There's a litany of people I could thank for everything that's gotten me here, but I just really want to shout out, of course, you guys for putting on the series. It was fantastic. One of the most competitive US-based series that I've ever actually had the opportunity to, I would actually even dare say that it was the most competitive series that I've had the pleasure of running in the US. Of course, my team, Apex Racing Academy, and all of our sponsors and partners, VRS, SDK Gaming, and Computer PC Systems, they've done so much to help me as a driver and give us the platform to strive. So I can't do anything without them and without our support, same as real life racing, and they make everything so much easier for us.
Heck yeah. Joey, Jack, well, hats off to you guys for you heard it right there, Jordan, most competitive racing series here, and that's big hearing that, because we've grown so much. So thank you for that. Let's keep growing, and it sounds like we need to keep putting money on the line to keep some competitive racing going and get you guys back and rolling. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of You Don't Know Jack, and we will see you guys later.